There's so much on the agenda. We heard him float. Maybe he wants to take a little side trip and meet with Kim Jong-un as well. How does he approach these trips, and what does he hope to get in terms of deliverables out of it?
I've done one of those side trips to meet Kim Jong-un on the way back. I honestly don't know how he does it. I just got back from Tokyo last night, and I can barely stand up. I was thinking more about his meetings last week when he was in Israel. Maybe it was 2 weeks ago, and I lose track of the time. He was in Israel and then Egypt, and then for 36 hours, then came back and did 2 solid days of stuff at the White House and didn't seem to slow down at all. It's brutal. It's probably as tough on the staff as anybody else. I mean, Trump doesn't sleep anyway. He only sleeps about 4 hours a night. So I think he's probably immune to jet lag, but it's really tough on the team. There's no question about it. And at the end of the day, he is 79 years old, but I've seen no signs yet of slowing down. Every now and then I see him seem like he's probably a little bit weary, but not too frequently.
You know, from the beginning of this term, in the context of this, a conversation between President Trump and President Xi, there's been a lot of talk of President Xi isn't going to do this unless we're at the point at which these two leaders can make a deal.
Yeah.
How do you think about the meeting that's going to take place on Thursday? What's likely to come out of it?
It's always been a challenge because Donald Trump and I think President Xi work in entirely different manners. Trump wants the principal one-on-one, big guy to big guy conversation first. And my understanding is that the Chinese do it the exact opposite. They don't want Xi to have those conversations until all the other preceding lower-level conversations have taken place. So the fact they're getting together, I think, is helpful. I don't count, David, on anything major coming out of this. In fact, I don't count on anything major coming from the next several years. I think both countries have sort of found this. We used to describe it when it was military versus Soviet Union back in the 1960s and 70s as the Cold War. This is sort of a cold peace. I don't think you're going to see everything sort of get back to warm and fuzzy. I don't think you're going to see a full-blown trade war. I think you see sort of choppy negotiations on and off, bits and pieces here and there for the next several years. I do expect some sort of announcement coming out of this. I think both gentlemen would not want to have a face-to-face meeting and not have something to announce.
Some deliverable.
But anybody who's sitting looking, I think this is going to be wrapped up here this week and things will be great. We go back to the way business was before Trump was in office. Don't understand the man.
You've lived through a few of these shutdowns before.
Yeah.
Let's go back to when you were at OMB. Would it have been a help or a hindrance not to have the president in Washington while this was unfolding?
It wouldn't make a difference. Our problem was the Republican leadership in the House and the Senate, and that's one of the biggest differences you have now. Back in 2019, Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell were on the phone every single day telling us how we were killing the country and we had to open the government up. And you just don't hear that today from Michael Johnson and John Thune. The Republican Party is a lot more united behind Donald Trump, and he's got a lot more support of his own party. So I think it's a dramatic difference in sort of the balance of power. Wait a second, I've heard that before.
Thank you for that.
In Washington right now. Again, I've been traveling for about a week, so it's been a while since I've sort of plugged in. But right before I left, I met with a bunch of my Democrat friends, and they were all like, look, Mick, we don't see the end of it. You guys are kidding yourself if you think this No Kings rally has anything to do with anything. There's a lot of Republicans saying that maybe after the No Kings rally, the Democrats would be more willing to talk to Trump and so forth. But they don't see it. Honestly, I think if I had to bet, and I've been wrong now, as has everybody from the very beginning on this, I think the Senate Republicans are going to start looking more and more at changing the filibuster rules because that might be the only way to fund the government at this point.
Ask you another question just about the uniqueness of this shutdown. I was on the Hill last week and sat down with the Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, and I was just struck by the quiet of the Capitol right now. I mean, he's not meeting with Mike Johnson. It seems like there are very few conversations taking place. There aren't many people there to have these conversations. Yeah. What do you make of that, and what does that say about the state of our politics?
It should really frighten the Congress. This is one of the things, David, I really don't understand. Fundamentally, I thought Chuck Schumer was right. I don't say that very often. But back in March, I think what he was taking the position was, look, if the Democrats don't support the funding bill, then the government was shut down, and Donald Trump's power will go up exponentially. And he's right. The power that the director of the Office of Management and Budget have during an ordinary appropriations process is pretty considerable, but it goes up exponentially during a shutdown. I mean, look, this one office, so it's essentially the president, through the director of OMB, gets to say, okay, you get to go to work today, you don't, you don't, you don't, you do. Of course, nobody gets paid until later, and everybody will get paid later. But think about that in terms of the executive authority, what's open and what's closed. They have given so much more power to the executive branch. I cannot understand for the life of me how they allowed themselves to get here, and I don't know how they get out of it. But
Nobody called you Darth Vader, as we talk about kind of the
I know, I feel
muscular
bad.
nature of OMB. But what do you make of what Russ Vought has done and is being able to do with that office? Could you have imagined that it could have as much power,
Oh, sure.
yes, in this circumstance,
sure.
but in this term as it has?
No, we knew it did. We knew that it did. In fact, we tried back in 2019 during the 35-day shutout to do a lot of the things that OMB is doing now. But again, when you didn't have the support of your own Republican leadership on the Hill, it was very, very difficult to do. When you're going out night after night and on Fox News and the other right-wing sort of media outlets, Republicans are beating up on the Republican president. It was really hard to do any of these things. So no, we knew exactly what the authority was, exactly what the power. I shouldn't say that. No one knows exactly what the authority is. You don't know where the bounds are, but you do know that the OMB and the executive branch has a lot more authority during a shutdown than it does during the appropriations process. So yeah, we knew that this was there, and Russ and I used to joke about, wouldn't it be nice to have this job when you could actually use it? And now he's getting a chance to use it.
When you look at the pressure points that are coming up, so the SNAP benefits expiring in a couple of days, open enrollment starting up, holidays on the horizon as well. Where do you see potential off-ramps or points where this could be resolved?
I see the airports as the pressure point.
You think so?
Yeah, I do. I just don't think SNAP registers with enough people. The media loves it and so forth, and if you get it, it's critically important to you. But the ordinary middle-class family that goes home every single night doesn't engage in politics. It doesn't touch them until they need to go see grandma at Thanksgiving. You're talking about tens of millions of people a day who travel, and I think that was a pressure point in 2019. I think it will be a pressure point now. I think Sean Duffy's done an excellent job of making it clear that any fabricated sort of sick outs won't be tolerated. But sooner or later, people aren't going to work for no pay. We all know they're going to get paid eventually anyway. But look, missing a paycheck in this world is tough for a lot of people. So I think that's the next pressure point. The last time they get paid out of sequence, they get paid actually tomorrow. They got paid 2 weeks ago, and in that paycheck, they got paid for the last week in September. So they actually did get paid some in October for September. The next check will be the first $0 check for the air traffic controllers, and I think that will be the next pain point.